is the CEO of MoonPay, Ivan Soto-Wright. Ivan, great to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much for being here. And you have a big announcement for us. What's your breaking news?
Big milestone for MoonPay. We're now regulated by the NYDFS. We received our BIT license. We're a handful of companies that have received this. It takes us to 50 states in which we can operate. Now we can do business here in New York.
That's a big deal because people want to make sure that they're doing business with MoonPay, that they can do business in all 50 states.
Yes, and this is the global financial capital of the world. We see us bridging Wall Street. You know, we build the infrastructure for this crypto economy. We're building the tools and infrastructure to make this easy for people to use all over the world. We're proud to do it here in America, proud to do it here in New York.
So tell me about that, because you have created connectivity to all the legacy payments companies, right? Like you know, Visa and MasterCard and now PayPal. If I want to move money, move my assets around, can I do that through MoonPay because you're connected to all these other legacy companies? Tell me how it works.
Yes, of course. So I think crypto is modernizing the financial system. It's an internet-based technology. So as long as you have access to the internet, you can spin up one of these cryptocurrency wallets anywhere. We think these wallets are ultimately going to replace your bank account. And so our job is to build the backwards compatibility to the existing financial system. So making it easy for you to use your debit card to participate, to use your Apple Pay, your Google Pay, your PayPal, your Venmo. And so our mission is to connect all these different payment methods around the world. And ultimately, you know, we're already seeing this with stablecoins. Stablecoins now represent 1.1% of the US dollar supply. They're instant. You can send them anywhere across the world with anyone with an internet connection. And so our job is to make that technology easy for everyone to use.
So last week when I was talking with Jamie Dimon, he said to me, there's a lot of competition out there. And I said, well, who are you competing with? And he mentioned a lot of these firms because you just said it. Everybody wants to own that wallet that you may have on your phone, that wallet that you get just from having an internet connection. Is that right?
Well, I think...
Or manage that wallet.
Well, I think wallets are an important part of the equation. You know, I think right now it's about making it easy for consumers to actually participate. We're ultimately also going to see a whole range of new instruments enter the blockchain. First, it's the US dollar on the blockchain. Then we'll see tokenized bonds. We'll see tokenized stocks. And so we're just getting started. And part of that is because of the regulatory clarity that we're finally getting in Washington. You know, right now we're trying to pass really important stablecoin legislation. We're also going to move on to market structure. And I think you're going to see a whole range of new financial instruments enter the blockchain, make this more competitive, make this really good for everyone around the world.
Stablecoin, they're supposed to be taking that up today, if not this week. How does stablecoin legislation change your business?
Well, I think it's just an important stamp of approval. I think, you know, a lot of companies want to actually comply by the rules. There wasn't clear rules around how these actual stablecoins got issued, how they're backed. I think transparency and trust and safety needs to be brought into stablecoins. And so, you know, I think from our perspective, we want to comply with this new regulation. We can see ourselves in the future being a really important component of this infrastructure because we think every wallet around the world, every business around the world is going to want to deal in stablecoins.
So let's take a look at cryptocurrencies this morning, and we see a mixed story. MoonPay has seen a period of record-breaking growth in the last year, finishing 2024 as cash flow positive and profitable. You've got a partnership, as you just said, with legacies like MasterCard, allowing customers to pay and be paid using stablecoins across global markets. People are wondering, you say this is also something that the major banks are working on. Wouldn't they see you as a major competition?
No, I think they should see us as an enabler. So someone has to go there and do the hard work of connecting the legacy system, doing it in a compliant way. And ultimately, the way that we see ourselves scaling, and this New York license is a really important part of that, is we want to provide white label infrastructure. So we see bigger institutions that want to enter the crypto economy. Who can be their trusted partner? Who can give them the infrastructure so they can participate?
Now, what about security? Because, you know, if someone is sort of old school and they're thinking about their savings account, you said the wallet could replace a savings account. How do I have confidence that my money is safe in the wallet?
Yeah, so I think there's obviously qualified custodians that can actually hold your crypto, and they're held by the same standards. And you know, it's essentially big banks that are now starting to enter the space on the custodian level. But in self-custody, you're in charge of your key. And so a lot of the work that needs to happen is around how can we make that safe for users? How do we make people understand what they actually hold and when they hold their private key? How do we do that safely? How do we ensure it? I think there's a lot of innovation that's going to continue to happen there. But I really believe that you should control your private keys. You should control your wallet. I think that's the future of finance.
Of course. And your thoughts on a Bitcoin reserve?
So I think first we had to establish that we shouldn't sell our Bitcoin in the United States. I think we had lost, we took a lot of losses by actually selling Bitcoin on our balance sheet. So first step with Secretary of Treasury Bezos basically said, let's not sell our Bitcoin, let's hold on to it. I think now is the question around what will be our policy in the United States around asset allocation. Do we end up buying Bitcoin? I think that's a question that remains to be answered.
What are your thoughts on gold? I thought it was interesting, the comments that we heard from Cynthia Lummis, who's, of course, working on this legislation on digital assets. And she said earlier, she said that a cryptocurrency-focused media outlet said that she participated in the New York Bitcoin Investor Week and said that the gold held by the U.S. government is recorded on the books at the 1974 price. It should be reevaluated at the current market price and used to purchase Bitcoin. Use gold to purchase Bitcoin. Your reaction?
So I think, Bitcoin is essentially the new gold, I think, for the next generation. And so from our perspective, we're seeing institutionalization of the asset class. We saw the ETFs, get passed over the last year. We've seen more inflows in Bitcoin ETFs. There's more money sitting in Bitcoin ETFs than gold ETFs. So I think that's obviously a very big deal. I think from our perspective in the United States, we're still coming up with the policy level around how we should be holding this Bitcoin, but I think it's going to be an important part of our financial system.
Cynthia Lummis said that the U.S. government should be selling its gold reserves and purchasing Bitcoin instead.
I think we should, take this into account of an overall asset allocation strategy. I think we'd be holding gold, we could be holding Bitcoin, but this is essentially a new asset class that's being validated, and I think the United States should be at the forefront.
All right, so you just opened a New York City headquarters. You just got the approval. You're operating in all 50 states. You're a hub for this growing workforce. Where does the growth come from at MoonPay? Let's call it the next 5 years.
So where we are now is how do we service everyday consumers and make this technology easier for them to use? We want the wallet to be better than your bank account. So it needs to be easier to use than most fintech apps today. So a lot of my focus has been around building the best user experience. But when we think about future scale, it's going to be bigger businesses that are now entering the space. They're going to want a partner that's regulated, that's compliant, that can offer APIs that are really easy to plug into and easy to use. So we're really focusing on the developer experience. We're focusing on how bigger companies can now start to participate.
Is the idea to partner, to scale up, to do an acquisition, to go public?
So M&A has been an important part of our strategy. We're continuing to diversify our business lines. We have a core on-ramping business. We're now looking at how we can obviously offer trading infrastructure as well. So a lot of the focus is, finding the most important points of distribution and plugging into them.
Wow, amazing. It feels a little like the 1990s where we're seeing a whole new era of business and companies at the very beginning.
It's early days. I think we're going to change the world.
Amazing. What a statement. Ivan, it's great to have you this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Ivan Soto-Wright joining us.